Welcome to the 27th George Tragos Thesz Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Mr. BRISCO hired me in 1995 in WWE. I can't believe I'm still in wrestling these days. We do a podcast. We have so much fun together. I'm a lifelong friend. He asked me the other day, he said, "Do you ever notice that I might be slipping?" And I said, "You're from Oklahoma. How could I possibly tell?" That was supposed to be funny. It didn't work. So this rest of this night may really suck for everybody. The George Tragos Thesz Hall of Fame is really a unique Hall of Fame with the amateur and the professional wing together. Several years ago, I had to be backstage, and Pete Rose was going into the WWE Hall of Fame. And he said something really cool about the situation later when he was talking about it. He said, "Me sitting backstage and listening to those guys tell stories would have been like them listening to Mantle and Aaron talking to Ruth about my business." And I thought that was so cool, the way that he phrased that. You know, in this business that we have, we stand on the shoulders of giants. We have guys like Jim Londos, the Goldust Trio. We have guys like Lou Thesz, the BRISCO brothers. And you look at what we built on top of the shoulders of those giants. Today, those giants are being inducted into our business. And it's so cool to be here for this special moment in their life. And one of the first guys to bring up is one of the heart and soul of this museum. Is a 10-time NCAA champion, 21-time consecutive conference champion. He is Mr. Jim Miller.
Welcome, good evening. Our 27th George Tragos Thesz Pro Hall of Fame banquet and induction ceremony. And as you know, we have an exceptional group to honor tonight. I'd like to first give a little shout out to our volunteers that help us through this weekend. There's a lot going on, obviously the planning and so forth. Also our board, who has done most of the planning for this event. I want to especially thank my staff who has done so much work, especially Gabby Toriano. You guys know Gabby? Gabby started selling tickets in October for this event, last October. And if you called for anything, you most likely talked to Gabby. So thank you, Gabby. Mike Doty, our development director, is also here, who will be around through the weekend. And Mike and I have already had a couple of questions this weekend, people saying, how can we help? And we so appreciate that, and there's many ways to help, but really the easiest way, if you are capable, just make a tax-deductible donation to the Tragos Thesz Pro Hall of Fame. Any of our staff can help you with that. Shout out to the Nagel family, local Waterloo family. Most of you know the Nagel family, a generous gift, $5,000 before we started this weekend. Thank you so much. By the way, the museum will be open tomorrow, 12 to 3, Sunday, 9 to 11. And I encourage you all to come over. I know many of you have already come over. And, every year, thinking about this, every year this event, this is my 7th. Every year this event reminds us that professional wrestling history deserves to be honored, preserved, and shared with future generations. If you look around the room, there are all these individuals right here that make this weekend special. And so many come back year after year, and some from long distance. Because you know what? It's just not an event. It's more like a family reunion. It's a celebration of friendships, memories, shared appreciation for the rich history of this sport. So thanks again for being here. Tonight, I'd like to share something briefly personal that has been on my mind recently that inevitably hits all of us just living life, and that's a loss of a good friend or family member. It's never easy. Tomorrow I will attend a life celebration of a brother-in-law who's been together with my sister for 65 years. He went to Navy SEAL training. He was an Olympic level diver, and he followed my wrestling career, high school and college. And he was really a positive influence on my career, but I never told him. And and all of us, when one of the regrets you might have, and my regret here is I spent 52 years. This is 52 years ago. I'm going to tell you a quick story. 52 years ago. And all of you, how many athletes in here, you think back 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you're thinking about a match, or you're thinking about something that could have been different. And to this day, I like many of you, some of those keep coming through my mind. But this story is 52 years ago, I was wrestling at the University of Northern Iowa. I was a junior in college. And back in the day, college wrestling, they divided the country with the Mississippi River. And they had they call it the East-West All-Star meet. They picked one man at each weight on the west side of Mississippi, one man on the east side of Mississippi. And that particular year, I was picked to wrestle on the west team. And that meet, it was held in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And don't get me wrong, I was honored to be chosen big time, and I was wrestling, my opponent was the defending national champion. Long story short, I wrestled a mediocre match, lost 6-3. But the very same evening that all-star meet was held, UNI, my home team, was hosting Iowa University at home. And this is 1974. Dan Gable had just won the Olympic gold medal in 1972. So the headlines of the paper, Gable returns. And the West Gym held 2,200 people, 2,600 stacked in that night. And that was the last time Northern Iowa had ever beaten Iowa to this day, 1974. I get beat. My backup, who was really good, he wins. He's a hero. I get home from Stillwater, and I'm pouting. I didn't get to wrestle in the Iowa meet. I wanted to go to the All-Star meet, but man, I really missed not getting in the Iowa meet. I didn't have a coach in my corner. Some of the guys on the All-Star team had their own coach in the corner, but we only had 2 coaches back then. And we were hosting Iowa. They needed to be there, but I was pouting. I don't know if the coaches prepared me enough. All these things, and my brother-in-law that I'm telling you about heard me repeating some of this and just said, stop. I'm going to give you some advice. And this advice has stayed with me now for 52 years, part of my life foundation. He said, Jimmy, hear me out. Quit whining and blaming anybody else. You need to own that performance and then reset and go kick some ass. Quit whining, own your performance, get your head right, and then go kick some ass. 6 weeks later in the semifinals of the Division I national tournament, I meet again the defending national champ, only this time I win the match. I quit whining, I owned it, and I started focusing on success instead of excuses. Now, my regret is, like I said, I wanted him to know how much I embraced those words and that conversation in my life to this day. And I coached 37 years. Hundreds of my student athletes all heard that same advice throughout their lives, in their careers. And you know what? It might not be athletics. It might be in your job. It might be in your life, but it's life itself. Is doing your best and start focusing on success and quit worrying and whining and all that nonsense. But I just want you to know I had a chance. I feel better having saying it out loud, going to the life celebration tomorrow. But I want you to think about if someone has really positively influenced your life, tell them. Let them know. Let them know along the way. Okay, I'm going to conclude here with something. We got a tradition. We got a cool tradition here that I really enjoy. And we want to acknowledge, first of all, the people who have come to this event for the first time. If this is your first time attending, please stand and and let's acknowledge these people. Because we want you to come back. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Now everybody else gets to stand. Everybody else that wasn't the first year, you stand. You know the drill. If you've been here 3 or more years, you stay standing. How about 5 years? 10. 15. Wow. 20. 23. Oh my goodness. Stand up, Jerry. 25. Steve. 26. All 27. Let's give them a hand. Hey, thanks everybody. Let's have a great evening. Appreciate it.
I want to remind everybody about the softball game in the morning. Those that are playing, those that are coaching, are involved. Please be there at 7:30. It's my team against Medusa's. Medusa's not won a championship since he threw a title in the trash. And she won't tomorrow. One great thing about being here is all the history that is involved. There's so many great historians that are here, but our favorite, me and Mr. Briscoe's, one of our favorites, is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and a very well-deserved honor. And to do that induction is Mr. George Shire.
Thank you, JBL. Jim Miller was talking a moment ago about all the history, and we're here now at this very moment to talk about the Jim Melby Award. If you know history, you knew Jim Melby, you knew how important it was for him to keep this wild, wacky world of professional wrestling facts and stats straight. And I learned it from the master. All of us as historians, we bow to him. And if you didn't know Jim, I feel bad for you because he was a genuine, kind human being, and he was my friend. I am extremely honored to be able to introduce to you tonight a man who, I'll tell you what, if Jim's watching us, and he's watched over all of the previous historians and been happy that they are being recognized, and I know for a fact that the Jim Melby I knew would be elated at tonight's inductee. A man who I don't know how he eats. I don't know how he has time to even do anything during the day because his pro wrestling time tunnel, his podcast, his Facebook wrestling pages, Substack, you name it. He's busy, busy, busy. And I am just extremely honored to call him my friend. I want you all seriously to give a warm applause and appreciation for, in my opinion, right now, the number one historian, my friend, and I'm proud to say that, Tony Richards.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Thanks, everybody. Boy, I tell you, words can't even begin to describe the gratitude that I have in my heart for this award tonight and the fantastic tradition and all the people that have won this award before me. It's a who's who, and sometimes every day I've had to say, boy, did I dream that happened, or did they really call, and did that really happen, and did they really tell me that? And I still think at any moment somebody's going to bust through the back door and say, hold on, there's been a mistake. So listen, I was sitting here last year with my very close personal friend, one of my best friends, Tim Hornbaker, who won this award last year we're sitting at the Saturday Night Wrestling show, and he said, well, you're going to be getting this award next year. I said, what? He said, you're going to be getting this award next year. I said, oh, come on, Tim. You don't have to tell me that. We'll be friends if you don't tell me such things. And and I don't even have to give you any money. But he said, no, he said, I really think this time next year, if you stay on the track you're on, you're going to win this award next year. And so what prophetic words. And I so appreciate Tim. And, one of the first guys who just opened up every bit of work he ever did to me and told me, hey, use this however you want, take it, share it, do whatever you need to do with it. And he didn't even ask me to credit him, but I do anyway. But Tim is a fantastic friend, and I'm just so, Al Getz is here tonight. Al was one of the people I had the chance to tell him tonight how much he inspired me with his work and how much his work meant to me. I don't think I could be thanking people without thanking Jerry Briscoe and John Bradshaw Layfield that they've opened up their podcast and given me a platform to tell all these great stories about Jim Barnett and Dory Funk Sr. and the Welch family. And now we're doing the history of Texas wrestling, which doesn't make Mr. Briscoe too happy. And we had a vote, and he voted no, and John and I voted yes. And so by episode 2, I had Oklahoma worked into it somehow. So anyway, John and Jerry have been such good friends to me and such great supporters. I love doing the show with them, and not only doing the show, but if you could read some of our text messages, they're more entertaining than the show, I guarantee you. And they're just fantastic guys. Standing here, I remember 1972, I was watching television, and Al Green, and I don't know if many of you people know that name. He was a big-time heel in the Tennessee territory, but Al Green came out on television, and I'm 9 years old, and I'm glued to my television, and Al Green starts talking about Jackie Fargo's daddy, and he starts talking about how he was a coward, and I'm like, I don't know what I'd do to somebody that'd call my daddy a coward. And then all of a sudden, here comes Jackie Fargo out on television, and Jackie starts crying. My hero, Jackie Fargo, starts crying because Al Green has called his father a drunk and a coward. And then Al Green comes back out and says, tell you what, Jackie, I'll put up $5,000 and I'll put up my brother's Southern Junior heavyweight title if you'll meet me in a match. And Jackie Fargo comes out and he puts up his hair, and I'm sitting there every single week just glued to this thing without being able to go to a live wrestling card until 1974. But when I went to a live wrestling card in 1974 and I saw Ma Bass carrying that brick in her purse and whacking people at ringside, and she was a heat magnet, and I first saw blood in a wrestling show, I'm like, oh my God, I am hooked on this for life. And I have been hooked on it ever since. And I've been able to tell some wonderful stories, like the 4-hour and 10-minute Texas death match between Dory Funk Sr. and Iron Mike DiBiase that had to be shut down at 2 a.m. because of the curfew in Amarillo, or about Jeff Jarrett's grandmother when Jack Pfeffer threatened to hold them up over Jackie Fargo's pay and said he was going to expose the business in Tennessee. She basically said, I'm going to kill you. And just great stories like that we're just, all of us in the historian space are trying to keep alive. And I appreciate the chance to do that. I've been fortunate enough to spend years researching, writing, interviewing, documenting the history of professional wrestling through my time tunnel. And my goal has always been pretty simple. I want to preserve the stories of the people who built this business before the stories are lost and gone forever. And we're losing our legends all the time. And so many of those are going to be gone unless people record them and document them and write them. And I just encourage everybody who's ever been involved in this historian space to do the work and put it out there and publish it in whatever means you have. Receiving recognition from the George Tragos Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame is especially meaningful because this hall represents authenticity, scholarship, and respect for wrestling's true history. And to have my name associated with those values is one of the greatest honors of my life. And I so appreciate everybody who was involved with picking me and selecting me. I like to thank all my friends and historians who helped me with the Pro Wrestling Time Tunnel. I want to thank the Hall of Fame. I want to thank the countless historians, collectors, librarians, photographers, and wrestling veterans who've shared their memories and trusted me with their stories, because every conversation I've had, some with you in the room, some who are not here tonight, every conversation has made me better. And I really, really, really appreciate that. To all my podcast guests, my readers, my listeners, my subscribers, thank you for encouraging me to keep digging deeper. I also want to thank my family and friends for their patience and support when I go into my cave to work. And finally, I want to dedicate this to the pioneers of professional wrestling, the promoters, wrestlers, referees, writers, photographers, and fans who built this incredible industry long before most of us were even born. History only survives when someone chooses to preserve it. And I promise that tonight is not the finish line. It's simply encouragement to keep researching, keep writing, keep making podcasts, keep asking questions, and keep telling the stories of the people who made professional wrestling one of the world's greatest forms of entertainment. Before I got really that deeply involved with being a historian, I had a really pretty successful career as a 20-year broadcast executive. I ran one of the largest independently owned radio and television groups in the United States. And then when I got finished with that, I had a 20-year career as an executive coach that's been pretty successful. And now you guys have honored me with this. And not many people get 3 careers in their lifetime. And I'm just so appreciative to get the opportunity to do that. In 1988, I hired an executive coach it was my first CEO job. And he worked with me for about 3 years. I hired him in 1985, and he sent me a letter in 1988. And in that envelope, along with the letter, he sent me a piece of paper. And in that piece of paper have been the life principles as far as connections and friendships that I've tried to live my entire life by. And I'm going to share that with you, which I think is apropos from what was just shared here on the stage a few minutes ago. It basically says this: tell me who your best friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. If you run with wolves, you'll learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you'll learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he's really like is shown by the kinds of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those who you closely associate, for the good and for the bad. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in other people, it increases your own mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends stretch your vision or choke your dreams. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who have never succeeded are the first ones to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong people. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people you spend an evening, and with others you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions on the road of life, and wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. Thank you, everyone here tonight, and thank you so much for being my friends.
I subscribe to Tony's Substack. I pay for it. I didn't ask for anything free, and I love it. I read it every day, or at least I save it and I read it throughout the week. I read everything you guys write. I love what you guys do, and I love the fact that you love a business that I love as well. You have a talent that I don't have, that you can write. I can write. I'm not from Oklahoma. I can write. I can't read, but I love what you guys do. And remember, tomorrow, Medusa is coaching one team. I'm coaching another, and Medusa has a wonderful husband. Poor man. She said when she was looking for a husband, she wanted a military guy who rode motorcycles. So if General Adnan had a Harley, he could have been unhappily married. But to introduce our next guest is the opposing coach, Medusa.
You think we got heat or something, JBL? What? All right. For some reason, I lost my voice. I don't know why, but All right. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow wrestlers, friends, and family, thank you for being here tonight as we honor a true gentleman of our sport, a dear friend of mine, Mr. Ken Resnick, into the George Tragos Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. If you don't know who I am, my name is Deborah Masali, otherwise known as Medusa or Alundra, though I've been called a few things. We'll stick with Deborah, right, JBL. I first met Ken about 40 years ago in the heart of VERNE's AWA in Minneapolis. I was a young woman breaking into a man's world, and Ken was already that polished, professional voice bringing legitimacy and excitement to every interview and broadcast. From day one, he treated everyone, veterans, rookies, especially the women, with the same respect and warmth. In an era when some saw women's wrestling as a novelty, Ken saw pioneers. He believed in what we were building, and especially with the LPWA, calling it ahead of its time. That belief meant everything to me. Ken's journey is the stuff of inspiration. He didn't grow up dreaming of wrestling microphones. He started in a legitimate sports media, doing public relations for the Calgary Cowboys, serving as media information director for the Minnesota Fighting Saints, and delivering sports segments on the 6 and 10 o'clock news at the KTTC in Rochester, Minnesota. It was during a celebrity golf tournament that he interviewed Verne Gagne, and the rest, as they say, is history. His pre-wrestling work laid the groundwork for the intelligent, respectful, and engaging style that fans still remember today. What made Ken special wasn't just his smooth delivery and sharp questions. It was his humility and his authenticity. Black Jack Lanza gave him a career-defining advice early on. Always be yourself. Don't try to emulate anybody else. And the best way to get yourself over, don't try to put yourself over. Ken lived that every single day. He made it about the talent, about the story, about the magic. As he once reflected, fans still crave that old school belief, that suspension of belief, where good versus evil feels real, even when we all know it's theater. Ken helped keep that magic alive. He brought intelligence and wit to every role. He called matches alongside Gorilla Monsoon at the Boston Garden. He interviewed Hulk Hogan, Bobby Heenan, Macho Man, Nick Bockwinkel, and many more. He championed women's wrestling in the LPWA when program directors were skeptical of women beating up women. And years later, an old colleague lured him back to the Ring Warriors with that classic Godfather line, just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. Ken has always been the ultimate professional, insightful about the business, gracious in crediting others, and deeply humble about his own good fortune. He gave young talents like me confidence. He gave fans belief. He gave the business decades of integrity. In a world that sometimes forgets the storyteller, Hall of Fame remembers Mr. Ken Resnick. Welcome to immortality. My friend, you have earned it. Come on up, Mr. Ken Resnick. Yes, I'm not.
I don't know if I can top that. I might be smart to say thank you and sit down. I wish I could say being here tonight was a dream come true. But if I did, I'd be lying to you, because never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd be standing here. So let me begin by thanking everyone at the Hall of Fame that decided I was worthy of this honor. And a huge, huge thank you to my family and friends for being here. To my fellow inductees, it is an honor and privilege to be included with you. I'm often asked what made me decide to pursue a career in professional wrestling. The answer is I didn't. As Medusa mentioned, in the early 80s, I was a sports director. I did the Section 10 o'clock news on the NBC affiliate in Rochester, Minnesota. One of the state's biggest yearly events was a celebrity golf and tennis tournament for charity that attracted and brought in the likes of the cast of MASH, of Hill Street Blues, former President Gerald Ford. I hosted a stage where I interviewed the stars so the spectators would get a chance, and there were tens of thousands of them, to feel like they got to know the celebrities a little bit. One of those stars I interviewed was VERNE GAGNE. Having grown up in Minneapolis, I watched and I was a fan of All-Star Wrestling. So I asked the questions in a way that allowed Vern to, if you will, answer in character. That night at the party, he came up to me, thanked me for how I did the interview, and asked a lot about my background. About a week or two later, Vern called me at the station saying he would like to have lunch the next time I'm back in town. I'm kind of going, huh? Well, we did. At the end of about a 2-hour lunch, he offered me a job. I started doing public relations and marketing with the understanding I would start to do interviews for smaller markets. I shared an office with Blackjack Lanza, who, as he got to know me, began giving me insights into the business. Suddenly, Gene Okerlund was off to New York, and I was the guy. As we left the office the night before that first TV, Jack said, "Let's go grab a beer." And then he probably gave me the best advice I could have ever received. He told me the best way to get yourself over, whether with the talent, with the fans, is never trying to get yourself over. He told me to forget everyone I had ever watched and how they did it, because if I tried to imitate them, I would never be believable. I thought a lot about what he said, and I decided to never make it about me, to never try and be funny at the risk of possibly overshadowing talent, and to do every interview as serious as I could. And that's how I did them, but there were 3 exceptions. It was a little embarrassing, but I was forever grateful the way Hulk Hogan went out of his way when I arrived in WWF to put me over, always calling me Killer Ken, the name he gave me, and that some fans still use all these 4 decades later. Another, try cutting a promo with George the Animal Steele. When he comes in, does not say a word, looks all around, then takes you with him to stare right into the camera lens, puts his head on your shoulders, and calls you Kenny Doll. Seriousness left that building. And the third, for those of you that have seen it, is obviously the turkey leg interview. In 1985, there was a lot of dispute about who owned Winnipeg and who could do what. So let's just say, among friends, an off-the-books interview was arranged to air in Winnipeg. This is an AI description of what happened. The moment where the Road Warriors completely broke character in a legendary unscripted promo. Instead of maintaining their bad-to-the-bone personas, Hawk and Animal spent the entire interview wildly laughing and taking lighthearted shots at rival WWF. Hawk, during the interview, was aggressively chewing on a turkey leg while trying to deliver his lines and force feed a bewildered Ken Resnick. Instead of their intimidating threats, the two legendary partners completely lost their composure, turning a serious promo into one of the most famously unscripted moments in pro wrestling history. I'm always asked about my first meeting with Vince McMahon and what happened to my mustache. After meeting with a number of people, I go into Vince's office. It's just the two of us. After a quick greeting, we sit down and he immediately starts asking about my mustache. When did I grow it? Why did I grow it? How important is it to me? I briefly explain, and then Vince looks at me and says, just so you understand, forget Okerlund, I hate mustaches on my announcers. I absolutely hate them. And then he just stares at me. Doesn't say anything. Finally dawns on me, I kind of look at him and say, so I think you're asking if I would shave it. He just nods, and I say, if everything comes together, I probably would. And then we just start talking about wrestling in general, 15 or 20 minutes. And then out of nowhere, he says, how much were you making in the AWA? And I tell him, and he looks at me, as those of you that know Vince would, he goes, I already knew that, but I like that you were honest. Then we just resume conversation. He tells me how TV works, talks about travel and expenses. And he says, if I would double your pay, when would you be available? And I think I said, just about any time you would want. And then he just stares at me again, probably for 15 or 20 seconds. It just seemed like about 5 or 10 minutes. He opens his desk drawer, pulls out a razor and a can of shaving cream, and says, bathroom is right through that door. I go in thinking to myself, this is absolutely nuts. But then I also think, I'm beginning to understand why he's Vince. So I shave it. I come out, he looks at me, nods, and says, you start next week in Providence. And I did. I also get asked what my favorite part of the business was. That's easy. The friendships, some of the lifetime friendships I've made. Now, there's something you should know. You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask from the Lone Ranger, and you don't mess with Gloria Lovel's times. So I will end with this. And most importantly, to you fans, without your continued support, this Hall of Fame may not exist. Certainly, weekends like this wouldn't take place. And a guy like me wouldn't have a night like this that he'll never forget. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you all.
In December, or rather September of 1992, I wanted a job, and I had never applied for a job. I played a little pro football. I was a coach. I trained to wrestle. I went to Sportatorium on a Friday afternoon. I had my bag with me, and I knock on the door, and James Beard answers. And he looks at me, and he says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a job." And he started laughing. He said, "Are you a wrestler?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I've been trained. I had never wrestled." And he said, "Who trained you?" And I said, "Brad Reingens, Minnesota." He said, "Brad trained you?" And I said, "Yeah." Back then, if you know from being there, guys who trained you made a difference. Whether it was Hero or Carl GOTCH or Billy or Brad Reingens, it made a difference, and you got jobs because of that. And it turned out that day, Lou Perez, who was the working cousin of Al Perez, was not going to make the event because of travel or something. And so he brought me in to meet Skandor Akbar, and he said, "Ak, this is John Layfield. He's trained by Brad Reingens." And Ak said, "Well, James, let's put him in the match." And James said, "You were serious?" They had a match that night with the champion, Rod Price, who was a terrific worker. And at the main event, the sold-out Sportatorium, and they were going to put me in the match as a surprise. And the whole thing was, if I sucked, I was going to go 2 minutes. And if I made it, I was going to go 20. I had no idea about lingo. I had no idea about Carney. I had no idea guys called matches in rings. Back then they trained you, but they didn't smarten you up to a lot of stuff. And so I get out there, and James called the match for me, called the entire match, got me through a 20-minute match. And when I came back, it was hard to believe. I got booked in Japan that night. 2 months later, I'm tagging with Bob Orton Jr. in Japan. And I started getting bookings everywhere because of James and because of that night. I've been in the ring with a lot of referees, some great referees from Europe, from Japan, from Mexico, most of the territories in North America, except for WCW. I wasn't in Florida, obviously, with Eddie, or in the Carolinas. There are very few matches. There are few referees that can call matches. Nick Patrick's one of them. James Beard is the other. I've seen James call matches for both guys in the ring and get guys through. James is a terrific booker. I can list all of his accolades. But when I started wrestling, James lived in Tyler, Texas. I lived in Athens, Texas. And James would come get me, and then we would go get Killer Tim Brooks, and then we get Skandor Akbar and Garland. And that's the three people that I rode with for years. And you talk about a Harvard education of professional wrestling. I mean, it was unbelievable. One thing that the young guys and girls today are losing and missing, and it's hard. I don't understand. It's got to be very hard for them. They don't have that education system that we had these old guys who would take us and explain the business to us and talk about the business the entire way. But that's what James did for me. James was the booker in Japan. He's a legend over there. He's a legend in the state of Texas. He came to Europe when I was there, became a heel referee. Well, he sold a lot of tickets. And brother, we got some freaking heat. It was a lot of fun. I'll tell you one little story. James and I were splitting a room one night. We do that often, and the hotel only had one bed in the room because the hotel was sold out. They said, "Sir, we got a hotel room, but it's only one bed." And we said, "Okay, well, it is what it is." So I thought, well, I'm going to get this bed. So I'm 300 pounds, and I took a shower and walk out buck naked, and I said, "James, I sleep buck naked." And I got into bed. James took off all his clothes and says, "So do I." And we slept together buck naked all night long because neither one of us would give. And I promise to never tell anybody that. So please don't tell anybody that, because it's not real proud of that, but that is what happened. My career is owed to just a couple people, and both of them are sitting right here, Mr. Gerald BRISCO and James Beard. But I would have never got to Gerald Briscoe if it hadn't been for James Beard. My entire career was predicated on one thing: the right guy answered the door that day. And James Beard has so many reasons to go in the Hall of Fame, but to me, my entire career and me standing up here right now is because of one man, and that is Mr. James Beard. So our next inductee in the Hall of Fame, Mr. James Beard.
Well, John, thank you. You did it pretty much the way I wrote it, except for the last story. Yeah, we were laying there and he says, "Don't you ever tell anybody about this." So now the whole world knows. That's John. You know, I started in this business 40 years ago, and I've really been, I heard Jimmy talking about being blessed this afternoon, and God knows I have been blessed for sure. I've been mentored by some of the best in the business, and I think about this award. You know, I 10 years ago, Brian, it's been 10 years, I received the very first Cauliflower Alley Referee Award, and man, I thought I'd made it then. That was because I took that role really seriously. That was what I wanted to be, the best, and I did my best to be the best. And you know, when I received that award, I thought, "Nah, it can't get any better than this." And I think about the people that helped me get to that, you know, and then further along. I just finished writing a book that's ready to go to print right now, and the whole theme in that book is something that Skandar Akbar told me. He said, you know, once you're really in this wrestling business, you can't ever really get out of it. You never leave it. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do, no matter how you feel about it. The only way you get out of it, the only thing that happens to you is you either die or quit getting booked. Just one of those two things, and that's the truth. And the whole theme of that book really kind of goes about that. And I think about the people that mentored me and had an impact on my career. When people ask me who trained me, you know, you didn't have schools back then, training schools. I just tell them that everybody I worked in the ring with, everybody I sat around and talked to, everybody I rode in the car with, those were my trainers. That's how I learned. I learned much, much more listening than I ever learned in the ring. I think most of the time I learned what not to do in the ring sometimes. But you know, the people that gave me the opportunities to do as well as I've done and to be standing here right now tonight. You know, Skandar would be one of them. You know, he would be, I rode so many thousands of miles with him, him and Killer and guys like that, and learned so much from those guys, just like John was talking about. You just pass it along. Those are the people that have an impact on your career. You know, guys like the opportunity to sit around in the dressing room of the sportatorium and talk to Johnny Valentine and hear how you put a match together, one of the greatest that ever worked. And guys like Red Bastine, he was an incredible creative force, and got to be such a great friend with him. And you know, I remember first time I saw him, I was probably 9 or 10 years old. My folks took me to the sportatorium a couple of times. I was just a kid. That was one of my heroes, and now I'm sitting here talking to one of my heroes in the dressing room of the sportatorium, or riding with him in a car, or just getting a phone call from him from anywhere he might be. Those are the kind of guys that you learn from, and those are the guys that have an impact on what you become in this business. I can't forget about Kazuo Sakurada, Kendo Nagasaki. Gave me the opportunity to work in Japan. It changed everything for me. Those guys had a great impact on me, and not just in the ring, but out of it. It's how I learned everything I know about it, and I wanted to know everything I could about the wrestling business. That was my goal, to be complete, not just be a referee, to be able to be involved in the creative side of things and even the promotional side of things sometimes, and And I've been able to do that because of those people, and a lot more of them. Not just a few. And then there's the friends, the friendships, the relationships. And I tell guys when I do clinics and things now that you may win a lot of championships, you may make a lot of money. And when it's all over with, the thing you're really going to come away with are the experiences you had with those people and the relationship that you've gained. And those are the things that's most important. I've been incredibly blessed, Jimmy, working with people like yourself and several other people in this room, actually, quite a few of them. My great friends over here, Rodney and Jazz, I worked their first matches. First time they ever got in the ring, I worked with them. And I see them grow up and become Hall of Famers, and it means so much to me just to be a little bit part of that career, and several others that I've had just a little bit to do with, and that means more to me than anything. John, I mean, my goodness, that when I entered that door, I had no idea that I was talking to a future WWE Hall of Famer. Had no idea, but man, he did it. Took him a while to get to the right position to do it, but he did it. When he got the opportunity, he took advantage of it. Jeff, man, we go back a ways, don't we? Yeah, great experiences. Man, what an incredible wrestler you are, man. So, I'm standing here happy and blessed and fulfilled because of this honor and because of all of you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that you're here to share this moment with me. It means all the world. Thank you so much.
I got the honor and pleasure of tag teaming with Ron Simmons for a number of years. My best friend, best man at my wedding. And we used to go to the gym. Ron would do a little bit of bench press, then he would leave. And I'd go, ready? And I, with that James Earl Jones voice, are you ready? And I said, Ron, I've got to work out hard to look this bad. So please let me stay a while. There was an old character on Mork and Mindy, Jonathan Winters, that aged backwards. And I thought, that can't happen. And then I saw Billy Gunn and Rodney, and I thought, that shit's real. I don't know how. I'm taking peptides and all kinds of shit. That ain't happening to me. I don't know. No. This business is unbelievable right now. I've never dreamed it'd be this hot. I never dreamed that you could sell out huge football arenas back-to-back nights. That you'd be making $1 billion from TV contracts like they're doing. You have hundreds of millions. Of course, we didn't have social media or anything, but hundreds of millions of views on social media. But a lot of it's because these young guys and girls are incredibly well-trained. And two of the great trainers today are next inductees. And we're fortunate to have Mr. Greg Gagne, who is not here but has a video to induct the next two going into the Hall of Fame.
Wrestling Wrestling Association. All-Star Wrestling presents the top professional wrestlers. From United States, Europe, England, Australia, Algeria, Canada, Puerto Rico, Japan, wrestling stars from all over the world. And now the ready for All-Star Wrestling.
Man, it's up and back some memories. I feel like getting up out of this chair and even trying to throw a drop kick. But I didn't even get up from that. My father, GAGNE, he started the tradition of training professional wrestlers back in the early 1950s. And here are some of the legends of GAGNE training. Ric Flair, Ricky Steele, Gene Hooley, Lars Anderson, Larry and Kurt Kenny, Blackjack Ramsey, Blackjack MELBY, Bulldog Bob Brown, Baron Von Raschke, Iron Sheik, and of course, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell and Greg GAGNE. This is the 2026 GAGNE. Training honorees are former WWE stars Chaz and Rodney Mack, owners of Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. The husband and wife duo have transformed their passion for wrestling into a training school and promotion designed to shape the next generation of talent. The school is a training facility in Land venue where students learn the fundamentals of professional wrestling under the guidance of Jazz, the two-time WWE Women's Champion, and Mack, known for his hard-hitting style in the WWE. Trainees are given the opportunity to perform at DPCW. Jazz and Rodney Mack's journey from WWE superstars to industry training leaders is a testament to their resilience and passion. Through DPCW, they are not only preserving the traditions of wrestling, but also shaping its future, even enlisting Thunder Rosa's training assistants. They are NWA affiliates, and now in NWA territory under Billy Patrick Corden. And now, congratulations to Rodney Mack and Jazz. Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's two of us here, so we're going to keep it short and sweet. We know we have other inductees going on tonight. So first, we would like to thank the Tragos Thesz Hall of Fame and all the members of the board for this incredible honor. To be recognized for the VERNE GAGNE Trainers Award means more to us than words can express. Training and mentoring others has never felt like work to us. It has been a passion and a privilege. And to stand here and receive this award together as husband and wife makes this moment even more special. We would like to thank each individual who has ever given us the opportunity to help them grow, not only as professional wrestlers, but to become better in life. Because, you know, as a trainer, you're the aunt, you're the mom, you're the cousin, you're the therapist, you're everyone, you know, to some of these young adults. So we just want to thank all those individuals for trusting us with their success, and it has become a part of our journey as well. So thank you again for this honor and allowing us to be such a small part of their journeys, and we're going to continue to do our best to help each individual thrive and become professional wrestlers.
Yes, thank you guys very much for having us here. It's very humbling, and like someone said earlier, it's not a dream come true, because there's no way I'd ever thought I'd be here.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank everybody. I'd like to say again, thanks to James
Yes.
for getting me through that first match. Yes, and I'll never forget, I've always, after that first match, everywhere I went, I always asked for that guy. I was like, who's that referee and where's he at? Yes, he took me through 20 minutes on my first rodeo, and I was like, oh my God. But yes, thank you guys. It's so surreal And I see a lot of faces here who's helped me along the way. My man in the back, yes, sir. Mr. BRISCO, Jeff, and I can go on, on and on to all you guys out here. Thank you for
Mr. Tony.
Oh, Grandpa, thank you.
Grandpa.
Love you, yes. Always took care of me, yes. Thank you guys, Tony. Thank you guys all. Love you guys, and it's thanks again.
Thanks again. Just a little quick story about James Beard. It's crazy, but I got to Louisiana, and there was a show going to be in 3 days. I had never trained or anything, and so they threw me out there. They trained me for 2 hours on a Friday and said I'm having my match on Saturday. Crazy, right? And I had to wrestle Debbie Combs, which was, yes. So you already know I got my butt whipped. But anyway, James Beard was the one, because back then they had Akbar. He had the Hills in one side of the building and the Babyface on the other side. And James Beard had to call the entire match to me that night. So James has always been a great friend and a family member to us. And I've tried to retire twice, and James kept calling me back to do more things, so you can never tell him no. So, again, just want to say thank you, guys. Thank Deuce. Love you, girl.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks for not leaving that area.
All right. Okay.
You guys having fun? Yeah. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to raise some money tomorrow. We're going to auction off Tony Gurria's toupee. That's so big. He's looked like that since the freaking 80s. It's unbelievable. We were in Europe one time. The Bushwhackers were there, and they wrote a song about the NFL being fake. We wrote one about rugby, and boy, it was fun. They tackle, they pass, they take it up. Never mind. It was a hell of a song. It was a hell of a song, I say. If aliens ever invade us, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about everybody being here. It's fun to be up here. It's fun to be up here with all of you guys. And if aliens ever invade us, the person going in the Hall of Fame next and the person inducting him, that's who we're sending out to meet these guys. And the person to introduce right now, the next inductee in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Jody Malenko. And despite the cane, he used to be really tough. I mean, long ago, he was really, really tough, long time ago. He's really funny. Wait till he tells jokes. He's the funniest guy ever. Say something funny.
Hang on a second, Louis. I hate when he does that. I didn't have this when I got here. I was walking the hallways of the hotel, and all of a sudden Jerry Briscoe comes out of nowhere and takes my legs out from underneath me. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I thought you were Layfield. I said, I'm half his size. As far as aliens go, I've been working with aliens for the last 50 years. With some of the best aliens ever. So, for those of you who know me, I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know me, count your blessings. I've been in catch wrestling for a long time. I've done a lot of the legit stuff for GOTCH. And, there are certain people, when we talk about standing on the shoulders of giants in the world of catch, we talk about standing on the shoulders of Carl Gotch and Billy Robinson and a whole bunch of people from Wigan overseas, of the UK, at a place that used to be called Riley's Gym, now called the Snake Pit. And there's one guy in particular that is being inducted tonight that I owe a large degree of thanks to, because he's kept the fires burning. He's the one that's kept the flag. He waves it, and he's loud and proud about catch wrestling, and I owe him a thank you for that. So I want to be up here to be able to at least say thank you. I'm going to read some of his accomplishments. If I read them all, we'd be, tomorrow morning we'd be having breakfast, and I'd still be reading his accomplishments. So I'm going to read a few. He was the youngest UFC heavyweight champion of all time at 24 years of age. Notice I don't have glasses. 70, pretty good. 10th longest reigning King of Pancrase champion, Pride Openweight Grand Prix runner-up, Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix runner-up, started pro wrestling in 2002. So he's Yeah, he's like a triple, quadruple threat, this guy. He's a beast. I mean, he's been a beast in the ring, in the octagon, on the mats, and he's been a beast in the world of professional wrestling. He's been a beast in carrying the torch and doing what he's been doing for the world of catch wrestling and keeping the fires burning. He trained under Billy Robinson for years in Japan. He trained under Carl Gottsam. He won the 2007 BJJF No Gi World Championships. I don't understand the whole gi thing anyway. You wear freaking pajamas. Sorry, BJJ guys. He was a snake pit wrestling world champion in 2018. He's trained many professional fighters. He's also trained many professional wrestlers as well. He's a guy that's really come together and helped blend professional wrestling into catch and created this hybrid that he did in his efforts at Bloodsport. If anybody knows that, what Josh has done, it's amazing. Because there's so many distinct similarities, and we've kind of forgotten that. And what he did was he reminded us in his efforts and what he's pulled together. He's been a trainer of professional wrestlers in both New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan, WWE, AEW. I don't know if there's many more promotions. Started Bloodsport, as I said. He's worked to bring back competitive catch wrestling with the American Catch Wrestling Association, and has held the longest and the biggest catch wrestling tournament in the world in modern history with the first U.S. Open. This guy has done it all. He makes me look bad, and I don't really want to be close to him or around him, but for tonight I did want to. So, Josh, I can't thank you enough personally, and I've been briefed because that's the best way to be. I'm out of here. Thank you. Get up here. And that was unscripted.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Only reason you're ever not wanting to stand next to me is because I have a full head of hair. If that's okay. I don't know how much longer this is going to last.
If I didn't have a cane.
Yeah, if you didn't have a cane, I think you'd be less dangerous. I don't even know who that guy is on the screen there with no beard. Probably has a better working shoulder. Who knows? Just a kid, amateur wrestler, football player, track athlete. And this isn't because I grew up as an athlete. It's because I found athletics as a nerdy, hard to integrate into society, kind of lived on the margins and all the weird stuff kid who had an aching desire to just tear people's faces off for some reason. Who knew? But I saw UFC 2 on a bootleg tape in a hospital room, not mine, thank God. And I watched that, and I was absolutely mesmerized. It was everything that I thought, video games, fighting video games, professional wrestling, because I'm a huge fan of professional wrestling, as well as being someone in the business itself. And someone that just loved fighting and competition and trying to see who was the best and what style was legitimately the toughest. And had a dad who was a street fighter and a gnarly guy himself, and just watching this go down, I thought, I didn't think anything like this could ever exist. I'm going to do it someday. I have no idea what that's going to, literally, I sat there and I remember this as a kid. I have no idea how this is going to happen, but I'm going to do it. And I forged my way in a very unglamorous sense where I sought out anybody that could teach me anything, fought anybody that would be willing to fight me. And when I say fight, I mean like at the University of Montana, seeing all the kids, hey, you ever go out and about in the streets? Oh, yeah, I think I see you in a street fight down there at Stockman's or whatever. Oh, you ever watch UFC? What do you think of that? Cool. You want to fight? Most of the time it was, what? But every now and again, I'd get some kids, and they'd meet me up at the old wrestling mats at this upper gymnasium. And I remember there was a little small gym that was enclosed, it had windows, and that was kind of like the women's workout area, but anybody could work out there. But they had these little windows when you're on the cardio machines, unless you're on the Versa climber, then you ain't looking out at anything. You're hoping to just make it through it anyways. So people are looking through the windows. There's a big cargo net to keep basketballs from flying over from the basketballs on the other side. And there's like a little rock climbing section of these old wore out mats. And then people at times would just stop playing basketball watching me as I'm picking guys up off the floor, slamming them and throwing elbows in the back of their heads. And people are like, what the hell is this? It's a surprise I never got in trouble for it, of all things, but it is Montana. So Oh yeah, I know. Gloria said 10 minutes, but get ready for an hour and 27 of obscure references about people you don't know in such a pedantic way as to put you to sleep. I never expected to be in any kind of Hall of Fame for anything other than maybe a Hall of Infamy, but not a Hall of Fame. It's surprising to be anywhere around Jeff Jarrett when he's not smashing a guitar into somebody's head. That was my introduction to him, was Hogan telling my hand wrap cut guy, Stitch Duran, like, hey man, this kid, what's he got there shooting on these guys? Why don't he should do some work and he might make some money in that. He can have a career. And then it was kabong, getting smashed in the head with a guitar for something that never actually got to go anywhere. So then I got to learn what that was like by being a wrestling promoter. Yeah. So you and me, Jeff, we know it. We know how it goes. But fighting was a thing that I knew was going to just open doors for me. And yeah, I did want to go out there and see who was the best and see if that could be me. And if it wasn't yet, it was going to be, because I had the kind of mentality that whoever was the strongest guy anywhere, I was going to go meet him. And if he could beat me that day, is he going to beat me tomorrow or the next day or the next day? One of these days, I'm going to figure you out, and then your ass is mine. And that was just always how I was. Even at wrestling camp, I was telling a story to Mr. Miller over here. I'm like, oh yeah, there used to be this assistant coach at Oregon. And I was at my first wrestling camp ever as a sophomore, and going into my junior year, and Chuck, one of the assistant coaches, I see he's on the mat. So the first thing I do is I meander over to him and try to kill him. Of course, he's a better wrestler than me and he's older, but he was out of shape. So luckily, he actually gave up at one point. But that was just how I was. Always chase him down, always go after him, because I wanted to be the best. And I wanted to get humbled until I figured out what it was that gave that guy that edge over me, and then take that and put it into my repertoire as well. One of the other dreams about fighting is I knew it was going to open the door for me to see the world. It's just that, as I always like to put it, I knew that fighting was going to allow me to see the world, cover all my expenses, fly me all over the place, feed me, house me, put money in my pocket, and learn all these cultures and beat the hell out of them all at the same time. And it did that, and I was happy for it, but it didn't just open doors in the sake of fighting and travel, but it brought me into the world of professional wrestling. In 2002, I saw my training partner, Tsuyoshi Kosaka, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I just fired off an email. How do I get into this? And sooner or later, in fact, more sooner than later, I was flown down to the LA dojo. I'm meeting with the office of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I'm being brought in to debut against Yuji Nagata at 50,000 people in the Tokyo Dome in the main event for the IWGP. And there was a little sliver of hope in my heart. So maybe it wasn't hope. Maybe it was more concern that I'd actually win this match. But all was right with the world, and I did lose to Yuji Nagata that night, as should be. But little did I know, I was brought in under Mr. Antonio Inoki, who would become my mentor in professional wrestling. From there, I would meet Billy Robinson, who was at the UWF Snake Pit in Koenji in Tokyo, with Yuko Miyato, former booker of UWFI. One of the promotions I am the biggest fans of, and I still to this day will go head to head with anybody about the world heavyweight tournament that they put on. The UWFI, it was like a 64-man bracket. Vader ended up beating Takada in the final. It was one of the greatest professional wrestling events ever. I mean, WrestleMania, this is as good, if better than anything. I promise you. It has got the pure spirit of professional wrestling underneath it, and it's got all the drama, everything you'd want, just distilled in a different way. And that's the thing I started learning about professional wrestling, is the first time I really sat down with Inoki, I'm brought into his area, his room in the Tsukisamo Green Dome in Sapporo. And they go, hey, Mr. Inoki wants to talk to you. And I'm like, I'm either getting fired, a raise, I don't know, but hopefully this goes well. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. And first off, he has to have this other guy come in, this vet, this real senior in the company, like top level guy. And that first interaction is me sitting on a couch while Mr. Inoki screams and chews this guy's ass out in front of me. And I'm just like, oh God, what do you do? I can't be like, sorry, bud, what am I supposed to? I'm just some 24-year-old know nothing about professional wrestling. And then he proceeds to go from there to ask about who I am, where I'm from, all this kind of stuff, as if he didn't know some of it already. And then tell me about working in the Northwest. how he worked Andre the Giant, why he worked Andre the Giant the way he did. If it's not Andre and if it's this guy, I'm going to work him like this and this and this and this, and laying out all this just psychology about pro wrestling day one. I took it to heart. And from there, I got to train for years under Billy Robinson. Although most of the training with Billy, just shooting all the time, be it boxing technique, catch as catch can. It was amazing. And from there, at some point, I even got to spend some time with Mr. Carl GOTCH, which was really special to me as well, because I always knew that as I got into this, my original trainer, Matt Hume, he trained at the Pancras Dojo. He fought over there. He got to spend some time under GOTCH. He got to spend times trained under GOTCH. Then my next coach, Eric Paulson, came through Satoru Sayama, who just was in the ring with Tiger Mask Force. Great to see him. He is also trained by GOTCH. Eric Paulson trained under Sayama, trained under Yorinaga Nakamura. Again, that GOTCH lineage is going down there. So through GOTCH and Billy Robinson, they've been around me in my fight career my entire way. And it got to the point where when I would be asked, what is my style? When I go to the ring, I'd put professional wrestling. And to me, I won the King of Pancras title, 10th anniversary. My original coach, Matt Hume, he went in there in the first King of Pancras tournament, lost to Minoru Suzuki. I come back around 10 years later and I win that belt. So for me, it was an accomplishment for not just me and my lineage and my coach, Matt Hume, but I stood on that turnbuckle raising the flag of New Japan Pro Wrestling for professional wrestling. Because to me, as I was always taught, professional wrestling is just one side of the same coin. You have shooting on one side and working on the other, and neither the two are separate. The fact that if it gets forgotten, that's a problem with you, not the thing. And I've always kept that close to my heart. So whether I be in a fighting ring or a working ring, it's the same thing to me. And this is the same process that I carry on as Joe Malenko put out here. I train people. I've been training people for years. I've trained people in New Japan Pro Wrestling. If you have watched an AEW show, there's a possibility, if it's got some of my guys on it, you saw even a finish that I put together for these people. I live and breathe professional wrestling. Professional wrestling to me is, it is the art of fighting for the entertainment of the fans. Whether you're working or you're shooting, that's what you're doing. You want them to feel like they got their money worth. They saw some real heroes in the ring and something that they take to their heart for forever. And especially in this day and age, and I tell anybody that's ever been in my blood sport ring, I go, look, business is exposed, but when you can make them still believe and forget, now you got them. If you catch their hearts, you win. No move is going to do that. No gimmick is going to do that. No entrance is going to do that. It's not about your ring song. It's not about anything. You need to be able to go out there in the plainest of things and go out there and let your heart show out in front of everybody. You can do that, boy, you got them. But, I never expected, like I said, to be in any Hall of Fame for anything. But who knows? Maybe I'll come back again for some other award for something else I've done, because at the end of the day, I'm not stopping with being a fighter or being a trainer or being a worker or whatever the case it may be. Promoter, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep putting my efforts into building things, because I didn't get anywhere without people building me up. I brought up the old school way in a new school environment, which is weird. I'm the youngest old school kind of guy you'll ever come across at 48, which feels great to be young at 48 in a room. I know, right? I think Ziggler is younger than me, but he uses all those fancy French creams. So that's... But they're a suppository, so it's give take. But at the end of the day, I got mentored. I got brought up. I got brought up the old school way. Some people like Liger, Nagata, Chono, Inoki, all these people, they took me by the hand and said, come here, kid, I'll smarten you up. And, they were open to me to helping them even learn more about catch, about fighting, about techniques in that sense. Perry Saturn was the first tag guy I ever had. And I thank him for it every day. He was so amazing. I remember the first day we get in the ring, he goes, show me stuff. And I'm like, me show you things? It doesn't matter if I can show you a move. I got to go out here and work. I need to learn from you. But they made me feel like a peer. They made me feel like somebody that was respected. And I loved it, because I was there to learn as much as I could. And I'm so very grateful. And without these people, I would not be here today. I wouldn't be doing anything, whether I was recognized in a Hall of Fame or just on the mats working with people. And I work with amateur wrestlers. I work with professional wrestlers. I work with fighters. I got a guy in the UFC right now. It just never ends. But everybody who's a fighter under me knows about this pro wrestling lineage. They are smartened up as to where we came from and what this is. You're not going to find a fighter that trains under me that doesn't know about pro wrestling and why the existence of pro wrestling is why they even have a chance to get in this ring today. And, from someone like Inoki, who is one of the modern masters and people responsible for modern MMA, to the UWF, to New Japan, to WWE and F and everything else. I love this business, and it's my job to not just protect it, but to build it up and to make it as good as it can be, because it ain't going anywhere. It's the oldest story ever told, and it's the easiest one to understand. So I'm very thankful to be here, to be recognized for this, but I'm nowhere near stopping. So thank you all very much.
As they say with the wrestling chants, that was awesome. One thing we do as a fundraiser is Legends of Wrestling. It's a game that we have, and Mike Molesky is over this. He's the one that is in charge of this, and he's the one that has an update for us. So, Mr. Molesky, if you would, please, there you are right there. Please come up and let us know what is going on with Legends of Wrestling. And the good thing is you get to follow Josh Barnett. Good luck.
So I was told to keep this brief, or John said he would let me know I was going too long. And I said, well, how will I know I'm going too long? He goes, oh, don't worry, you'll know. But first off, I'm Mike Molesky with Filsinger Games and the Legends of Wrestling game. It's a card and dice game that you can run your own fantasy matches from wrestlers from the past. You can run your own Fed. It's a card and dice game I picked up for almost 40 years ago when it was created. And about 20 years ago, Mr. Filsinger, the creator of the game, started doing legitimate professional wrestlers. It was originally a fictional game. And the beauty of this game is it honors the history. And it brings to light people, and we don't let them be forgotten. So over the years, I guess it was 2020 when COVID happened, the hall was struggling, like most places, because you couldn't get people in the door. You couldn't have an event like this. And Chad Olson and I talked, and he said, can we do something to raise money? And I said, well, yeah, we could do a Hall of Fame set. And so Mr. BRISCO and his brother Jack were two of the first ones in, along with the Baron. I'm not sure, Baron, where are you? The Baron was in it. And we started raising money for the hall. And here we are in 2026, and we've raised nearly $70,000 for the Hall of Fame in that time. And, to borrow a phrase, this is a great event that's here, and you should always bring a friend, right, Mr. BRISCO? Bring a friend. We have be a lifetime member. Do something. Really, we're out there trying to get the general public to know more about this hall and all the great things, all the great people it honors. But be a lifetime member. Come back. This is a unique event that brings together the people in the business with the fans in a unique way. Everybody, we talk about a family reunion we were talking about earlier. It's such a special place. And, as a fan, to have the opportunity to be here in front, you want to talk about never dreaming of talking in the Hall of Fame. This is amazing. And we're each a small piece of it, and we can each do a little bit more. And so we're going to try and do a little bit more next year, raising money. We want you to all come back, and we want you to honor these folks, because at the end of the day, the professional wrestling business is wonderful. It's a team sport unlike any other, because it's not about the win. It's about working together. And you're out there working, and there's some kid watching on TV who's getting bullied at school, who gets to see his hero win, and then he believes. You got a parent who can't talk to their kid, but they sit down next to each other on a couch and watch this wonderful sport. And maybe they get just a little bit closer. And then all of a sudden, maybe they can start talking again. That's what professional wrestling is. It's bringing people together. And so I'm just proud that Filsinger Games, the Legends of Wrestling community, can help raise money to honor this sport. But most of all, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you, whether you're in the business, you're a fan, everything you do, please come back, please give, please become a lifetime member. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee went to St. Edward's High, and there he set a record for pins. I believe it was 82. His team had 2 national championships. He then goes to Kent State University and sets a record for wins. As an amateur wrestler, he was absolutely fantastic. When Al Michaels said, "Do you believe in miracles?" You know what he did next? Nothing. Nothing. He laid out. Next minute and a half, he laid out. Didn't say a word. I've been blessed to call a lot of matches, and I've called most of this inductees matches, or at least a lot of them, for years. And I got to call when Brock defeated The Undertaker. And the whole stadium fell silent. I got to call when the heist of the century, as they called it, when Seth cashed in on Roman and Brock. And I got to call recently Mask versus Mask, the Apuesta match down in Mexico. And I realized at one point, this thing is a freaking classic. Don't fuck it up. We laid out. One of the greatest things I've ever seen, and one of the biggest reactions I've ever seen. You know, guys can hold titles. Guys can set records for wins. Guys can do so much in this business. But when Dolph Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank the day after WrestleMania, I can feel it to this second. I've never felt an arena go nuts like that. I saw The Rock versus Hogan. I don't know how you compare the two. They're both great. One may be greater. I have no idea. But to even put it in the phrase with that, people will remember that forever, what he did. That's what Nic Nemeth did in this business. There's so many records that he set. He's still winning championships. He's still doing all kinds of things. He's still this incredible draw. He's still this incredible athlete, just as good as he's ever been. I've never seen him have a bad match. Never. And I've seen hundreds of his matches. You know, I was in creative a lot because creative was in the production meetings, and we'd hear about ideas that Vince would have or somebody else would have. And as you'd always hear that baritone voice, "Get Dolph," because Dolph could do anything. Dolph had the curse of being a great worker. And when you're a great worker like that, sometimes you get put in pretty rotten things because nobody else can make it work. So there are a lot of times, instead of Dolph being a main event guy, which he is and he always will be, Dolph had to make some horrible segment work. And he did. Time after time. And because he did, his reward was he got more horrible segments to make work. It was always, people always laugh about Pat Patterson. How about Dolph? And the reason is because Dolph could do absolutely anything. I'm so used to calling him Dolph, Nic Nemeth. Nick's one of the greatest wrestlers I've ever seen. It's just amazing. And I love sitting out there. I used to sit out there at ringside during the day. And I would sit out there because I wanted to see how guys interact. I want to see rehearsals. I want to see what's interacting. And then I got to sit in the bowl as the commentator, so I would get to see what's going on. And you get to see ring generals. You get to see guys who have absolutely no clue being put where they need to be by guys who know what they're doing. That was Dolph. He's one of the best I've ever seen. He's won 1 million championships, and he's here forever if I listed every single one of them. But I'm not. He's just incredibly talented, and it's been fun to follow his career, and it's not done yet. Mr. Nic Nemeth.
I don't think I can follow JBL stuff, so thanks, good night. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, so I'm just gonna say a thank you to everybody who's helped me along the way, because like JBL said, I'm still going, I'm very lucky, I'm only 45, Barnett, so relax. Years young. I'm just gonna legit say really nice things about people who have helped me get to what I'm doing, and
I have the greatest job in the world. I don't ever want to get a real one, so thank you. First and foremost, my parents. We made a deal that I would go to college first, and I was going to go to law school and wrestling school at night and make it work out. That never would have worked. Luckily, I got hired by WWE. The reason I got hired by WWE is because my coach in high school at St. Ed's, Tadaki Hata, knows Gerald Briscoe. And the tough love of St. Ed's and Tadaki Hata and Gerald Briscoe was, we'll let you go see a show and maybe shake some hands, and we'll see how it goes one day when you're done with high school and college. And they introduced me to WWE. They gave me a shot. I got to meet John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon and JR, and I've been hooked since 5 years old when my dad took me to a WWF show. So this is the greatest thing that was ever happening to me. And I forgot, because I didn't write any notes, didn't print them out, but anybody who gets thanked in this speech, if they've been canceled, will be canceled tomorrow, or are canceled next year, or whatever the hell happens, they still help me along the way. So if you clip this out of context, go to hell. So, first of all, I said, parents, we made a deal. They brought me up right. I love that so much. And my dad for always not accepting a collect call from, Dad, it's me, wrestling practice is over, come pick me up, don't accept the charges. Because there was payphones back then, not cell phones. My college wrestling coach, Jim Andrasey, and Frank Romano, who was walking toward me to give me a pointer in my Division I wrestling practice when I kicked my drill partner in the stomach and hit him with a stone cold stunner. And he abruptly walked back the other way because I won all my matches, so it didn't matter. Brian Keck, JT Lightning, people of independent wrestling who gave me a few minutes of their time because I wanted to be a professional wrestler and get to Ohio Valley Wrestling, get to WWE somehow. John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, went to bat for me 1,000,000 times, is what he told me. I'm mostly kidding. No, I'm kidding. Oh, God. Jim Cornette, Danny Davis, Lance Storm, Hugh Morris, who's here, Al Snow, and so many countless others at OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, where we're learning how to figure out how to do this. I came there from college wrestling, not from independent wrestling. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I tried to catch up, and thank you all for the tough love that got me going. Cornette especially. Chavo Guerrero helped me become a golf caddy somehow. Well, we'll just leave it at that. The Spirit Squad for crushing my dreams and for being a professional wrestler. D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, for passing on incredible knowledge to me, and then all of their moves when they were done. Shane McMahon was really fun to work with. Just keep your hands up. Vince McMahon taught me so much stuff that could fill a book, and still, on a bad night, everyone's telling me, Vince is so mad that no one's grabbing any holds tonight. Everyone's just doing spots. Dolph, grab as many holds as you can. I go, I got this. I got Rey Mysterio in the main event of SmackDown, the greatest babyface of all time. I am going to grab so many holds. Vince is going to pull me aside and be mad at me about it. All right, here we go. I go out there. I have a long main event match with Rey Mysterio. Kane, for storyline reasons, is standing out there just watching. We have this match. I forget who wins. We're making our way back. And Kane goes, man, you sure grabbed a lot of holds. Is Vince going to be mad at you? I go, no. I'm the new guy. We get back through Gorilla. I kick open the curtain. I go, what's up, everybody? And Vince stands up. And I go, this is it. I'm a made man. He's going to hug me and say, here's the keys. And he goes, takes the headset off, smashes it in the ground, and says, you're never going to get it. And I go, what? And I heard that he just learned about texting on his cell phone, so he didn't really watch the match. So I still learned a lot. The Canadians, Adam, Jay, Lance, Edge, Christian, Lance Storm, They are so damn good at wrestling, brain-wise, and I got to learn through osmosis from them. Thank you guys so much. Tommy Dreamer teaching me in and out of the ring, good and bad stuff for 20 straight years. And then 20 years later, giving me a shot. I love that. Thank you guys so much. Every opponent who ever sacrificed everything that day to put it on the line, to do for me what I was doing for them, I cannot thank you enough. That's why this is a brotherhood and sisterhood. I love it so much. Thank you guys. Even JBL. Brisco, you learned to throw your voice. JBL, who helped me last year in a couple of matches. This is incredible. This is crazy. It's 2026. What the hell are we doing? But thank you. Thank you for saying so many nice things. But man, you helped me win a match last year. I stayed state champ. It was great. Ric Flair, absolute mentor in and out of the ring. I try and focus on the in-ring stuff. Thank you. Just know that anytime I take a kamikaze shots with our friends, we again, if we're not filming, we drop our pants. It's fine. A very, very cool moment. So many people are here that I grew up watching or I admired, and so many times I hope because of the work ethic or the look in my eye that people looked at me and people who I saw as legends who were already Hall of Famers, and they were so kind to me. They treated me as equals even though it didn't make sense. And one of the most beautiful times on multiple occasions, me and Gene Okerlund, Bobby Heenan, and Pat Patterson treated me like I was their real friend their whole life, and that's one of the most beautiful things I could ever have. And a Dirty Martini will forever be called an Okerlund, so thank you. Michael Hayes for fighting with me every week and being right about half the time. He has a better moonwalk, but I got all my hair. Brad Attitude, my crew, when we get 24 hours off in the old schedule days, we would have nothing but a good time, and it was the greatest time in the world. Garea, Tony Garea, you're here. I feel like I'm doing a roast. Garea's here. No, I'm not. He told me to go save your money because you're probably going to need to. And I said, thank you, and I did, and thank you for that. We're going to get our draw after this when I come out. Jeff Jarrett, Double J, ain't we great? It's so good to see you. There's a bunch of people here that I grew up watching, and Double J is one of them, and we're friendly, and we're old-time buddies, and it's just like, this seems like going to an amusement park where all the rides are your friends. This is unreal to me, so thank you guys for that. Josh Barnett, he's here. Thank you for letting me be a part of Bloodsport, and as everyone has already said, combining catch and wrestling and making it more real and fun. And I told you about the suppositories and confidence. At my table is Jazz and Rodney Mack, and that just blows my mind that I'm here with them. They're teaching everybody else what they've done. This makes no sense to me that I'm here. And just like when I caught the call from Gerald Brisco and he said, you're going to the Hall of Fame, I go, are you sure you have the right number? And I meant it. So thank you guys so much. Nick Bockwinkel and Kurt Hennig for doing 60 and 90 minutes. Damn it, that was beautiful. If some of you know WWE Unreal, they show some behind the scenes stuff right now with WWE stuff. And some people think it's exposing the business, and they're right. And some people think it's showing some beautiful things, and they're right. It shows some people who don't know, who are not in our brotherhood and sisterhood in this room. It goes, oh, are you just some person who punches somebody and makes a move? No, there is a production move. There's an afternoon of saying, I want to have this look this way because we're going to make this movie here, and we're going to try and get this reaction from people this way and set up a camera, and it shows that we're not dumb wrestlers, that we are actually absolute professionals that want to put on the best movie for you that night. So thank you for that. Even if some of you guys hate it, I understand. And on this, for 1 second, a serious note, the fans of pro wrestling, you're the lifeblood of this. I can't believe that I still get to do this. You decide who marches on, and your voice decide who falls to the side. And it's just through the pain, the grind, the days, you miss birthdays, you miss weddings, 2 best mans I could have been, and that's fine. I was fine with it because I wanted a goal of having everybody one day, not now, one day talking about this guy gave everything to this business that he absolutely loved, and that's what I want everyone to know. And mostly, I was probably held too much or not enough. So thanks again to the parents. You guys, thank you so much. I feel like I shouldn't be here, but this is the greatest honor ever. Thank you.
Our next inductee is one of the most popular guys in the history of wrestling. And the reason is, if not for him, we'd have had to wrestle Michael Hayes. Yeah, you wrestle Michael Hayes. Holy shit. Our next inductee, part of the Freebirds, I actually wrestled them the night before I got married the first time. And it was supposed to happen a week before. The television got screwed up, so we had the night before. And I realized halfway through the match, they're trying to bust me open so I wouldn't be able to take pictures the next day in church. So it ended up working, and I got divorced. So I want to thank them for that. And I know women love me. They keep marrying me. They have to love me. They do. Medusa calls me all the time, says, "You still married?" And I say, "Yeah." She says, "Damn." So it's just one of these things. Our next inductees, we started in the Carolinas. It got really over with Magnum TA and so many incredible feuds. Came to Texas when Texas was getting set on fire with sunshine. It set the place on fire as well. People in Texas to this day will talk about the time he lost to David Von Erich and he had to spend the next week or day, whatever it was, doing chores at his ranch. It was the most entertaining segments that you have ever seen. It was absolutely unbelievable. And there's certain things in wrestling that are just kind of cool. You know, I got to be in Budokan Hall when Stan Hansen came out. I've got to be in the Garden when the Undertaker comes out and the Rock comes out. I got to be in Chicago with the Road Warriors coming out. But to stand in that old building, that sucked. It was hot in summer. It was cold in winter on the corner of Katie's and Industrial. And to stand there in the Sportatorium ring and to see the Freebirds come out, that's one of the coolest things I ever got to do. And I just want to thank him for that, because that was just, it was, you know, I was young in the business and they treated me like an equal. And it was so cool to be able to see that and to be able to be that. He told a story. He was an agent in WWE for about 2 days. He couldn't take it. But he's sitting there on the plane telling Vince McMahon stories. And Vince, I've never seen Vince laugh so much. He could have had a job there forever. He told a story, which I don't want to tell, so I'm just going to tell you part of it. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you all of it. He was in the plane. He was flying. He was a jet plane, and there were guys behind it. I'm not going to tell you who it was, the Rock and Roll Express. And I'm not going to tell you what they were doing. They were doing blow. And Jimmy started up the jet engines and blew it all over them. And they walked in like frosted flakes to the plane. And Vince McMahon was, "So you started the jet engines and cocaine blew all over the Rock and Roll Express?" I said, yeah, it was, he could have had a job for life. Instead, he goes to work for Warren Buffett and works there for many years until he retired. He's one of the best guys I've ever met. He's one of the greatest wrestlers. That's why he's going in the Hall of Fame. But he is Mr. Jimmy Garvin. Jimmy Garvin.
I'm a little tired. I'll be 74, and I had a great career, and I'm just joking. I'm not tired. Everybody's been wonderful. The whole organization has been wonderful, and it was nice meeting everybody, seeing people that I hadn't seen in a while, and all the fans is always is nice. I told this story, I think, so many times since I've been here, and I don't want to bore you with it, but I had a really fine career. I really enjoyed it. I had a great amateur career. there wasn't much that was missing. So I guess I think about when I started. I wrestled one time. I wrestled Thesz, and it was an experience. It was great. I was only about 21 years old, and he taught me a lot. It hurt a little bit, but it's okay. And then it went on, and I actually had to get a chance to work with. Oh God, I'm losing his name right now. Can't think of it. I'll come back to it. Either way, it wasn't a good experience either. Oh, it was Danny Hodge. My goodness, how can I forget Danny Hodge's name? I got stretched by two of the most dangerous men in the world, at least for me at the time, and they were nice. They weren't disrespectful or anything like that. They were teaching me. I was young, and they were teaching me, and I learned a little bit. But where I learned a lot was in Texas when JBL was starting out. Somehow I ended up having a match with him, and I had never been hit so hard in all my life. So many times. It was amazing. Lou Thesz and Danny Hodge can't hold a candle to this guy. It's terrible. I mean, it happened 40 years ago or something. I still have nightmares. I wake up. My wife says, "What's the matter, JBL? JBL." So, JBL is a wonderful guy, and Gerald BRISCO and all the fine people that I got to work with, and all the fun time I had. And I did it for 23 years. And again, I won't bore you with the whole story, but I knew I wasn't going to stay over my time. So I said when I was young I was going to retire at 40, and I did. And while I was wrestling, I took flying lessons. So by the time I was done, I had about 8,000 hours and everything. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I had two great careers. Talking about being blessed earlier, and I am blessed. And to have two great careers, and I've been with my wife for 57 years. And I love her to death. Her name is Patty, and I love her more every day. I've had a really good time in life, and enjoying this, the work that people's done here for me, and inviting me here. I'm so appreciative for that. The group that's involved here are really good folks. That red belt and Jack BRISCO and doing the trips in Florida with Jerry and Jack. I was going to write stuff so that I didn't do what I'm doing now, but I just can't do it. I didn't write stuff when I was doing my interviews, so I couldn't see any reason to write stuff now. But Jerry and Jack were important in my life and in my career in Florida. They helped me a lot. And to this day, I got to tell you, to this day, I still can hear Jack's voice calling my name when he would talk to me. He was a wonderful man, and I can't say enough about him. I mean, everybody knows he was one of the greatest amateurs that we had. I don't want to start talking about his stuff because I don't want to say it wrong. I know that he had 3 state championships just in high school. He did incredible stuff. He was an incredible guy, and I just about loved him to death, and Gerald too helped me. And Gerald was not a bad hand on the mat either. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but he could probably stretch a few people. But the Jack BRISCO, when I got called for this, I really was overwhelmed. And the people that I've heard here tonight, how wonderful, the people that have been up here speaking, really, really wonderful. And I'm almost beyond words with my appreciation. I've had a wonderful life. And getting this belt probably about the best thing because it's just an amazing thing. And Jack was such a good person and a good. When I was young, and Jack and Jerry both watched after me. One time I had an incident in the office in Tampa, and I wasn't really easy to get along with, but I was okay. I just hated to get messed around, but anyway, they pretty much were finishing me up, and I went out to the parking lot, and Gerald followed me out. And you remember that, Gerald? He walked me he came in the car, and we took a drive, and he talked to me for a while, and I felt a lot better. And it's just they've been in my life a lot, and I just never can forget him. And I'm just overwhelmed with the award, and I'm just almost speechless, but not quite. I'm appreciative for everything, because there's not a lot of us left of the old school. November 1st, 1969, I worked for Ernie Mohammed in Arizona. And I just had a great time. I got to tell you, I had a wonderful time. I got 2 beautiful daughters, 3 beautiful grandchildren, and I don't want for anything. I just enjoy every day as a gift, and most things don't matter. So I just want you to know that I thank everyone that had anything to do with that, and I thank the people here that brought me up here for this, and I thank the people that spoke tonight. They're very interesting people, and God bless all of you. But that's all I have to say.
Hey, Jimmy, before you run off, and Mr. Briscoe, there was a picture here that I got to give a little explanation for first. The old Leader of the Pack T-shirt, you had to fight on the side of the road when you rode with the Briscoe brothers. There's a legendary Briscoe brothers car that was a rite of passage for most people. And I want to tell you something. You may be cool, but you ain't Jimmy Garvin wearing a Leader of the Pack T-shirt that got blood on it from the fight that day drinking a beer with the Briscoe brothers. Cool. When they ask about what's the difference between today's wrestlers and the old school, there you go. They won. I always thought that when Stan Hansen retired, he had a book, That Last Outlaw, that I would steal that nickname. Stan and I both he had the lariat, I had the clothesline. He's from West Texas. I'm from West Texas. Wrestling Japan. Good friends. And then I see that Jeff Jarrett stole it from me first. So I couldn't believe it. I thought, how could this possibly happen? But then I realized that in the history of this business, Vince McMahon bought the WWF at the time for about $1 million plus in 1981. He sold it for $9.3 billion and retained control. That's Game of Thrones. And in that history with Vince McMahon, the only 2 people that I know that ever got over on him are here right now. One is Mr. Gerald Briscoe, who sold him Georgia Championship Wrestling, that to this day, you still hear that baritone voice go, "You're still getting back at me for Manhattan, aren't you?" And the other is Double J. He held up Vince McMahon, and so well, and he was right, by the way. Everything he did was right. That Vince walked out, shook his hand, and gave him the check personally in Cleveland. That was how well. That's legendary stuff. Double J has had an incredible run. He comes from an incredible family, and he's won championships everywhere he's been. But when he left WWE, it was the one mistake I always thought WWE made was letting Jeff Jarrett go. I thought we should have never let him go. TNA is around because of Jeff Jarrett. India Promotions are around because of Jeff Jarrett. And now Jeff Jarrett is one of these stars that is bigger now, if you're seeing Dark Side of the Ring, right now, after all he's done, than ever in history. It is absolutely an incredible run he's on. I got to wrestle Jeff a lot. He's one of the best guys in the world. He's fun to be around. His father, Jarrett, legendary promoter, came out to Vegas to see the induction of his mother, Jeff's grandmother, into the CAC Hall of Fame. And when Mr. Jarrett flew out there, as a lot of old people like Mr. Jarrett and Medusa do, they get things wrong. And he had the day wrong that his mother was being inducted, and he slept through it. And anyway, Jeff was very worried about it. Ended up going upstairs and finding him. Everything was fine with his father, and realized that his father had just had the day wrong, even though he flew all the way out to Vegas and missed his mother, Jeff's grandmother's induction. Mr. Jarrett's not going to sleep through this. He's looking down on Jeff and smiling, and he realized that Jeff has made his family, once again, very, very proud. And the next inductee of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, man. He's already got me going down that road. Y'all gonna have to bear with me. Incredibly humbled. You know, look around the room. I don't have any jokes. I won't be very entertaining, but I'm gonna speak from the heart. That's really all I know how to do. Everybody that's come up here, I've got lineage. He's talking about Teeny and Jack Pfeffer. There's AWA stories, Garvin stories. He put a smile on my face at the table. We hadn't talked to the Welch family, but they're the main event. It's where they should be. Such deep connections with my family. Josh, I could go on and on and on, but a couple of months ago, I do a podcast, and I got shocked. I got surprised. And I kind of got a little ego. Nobody can surprise me on my own podcast. But my partner, Conrad Thompson, and Jerry Briscoe pulled a fast one, and they gave me the news that I was going to be inducted at this Hall of Fame. You can see my picture there. Frank Gotch Award. Jeff Jarrett and Frank Gotch shouldn't be in the same sentence, and I mean that. Because growing up in this business, you hear about Thesz and GOTCH. And for me to be standing here is just an incredible honor. And so that day, I came down the steps, my wife Karen's here. I apologize, but I told her about it. And she said, "Why are you so emotional?" And I said, 2015, TNA Hall of Fame. Oh, that's great. I founded the damn company. But they had bought me out by that time, so they brought me back. 2018, it was 34 years to the day that I had my first match. And my dad was in attendance that night. And for those that may or may not know, we had a rough patch over this business, but he was in attendance that night. But I told Karen about this Hall of Fame. And I told her, I said, I want to start thinking my thoughts about what I'm going to say, because I'm going to feel like I'm accepting. I don't deserve to be here, but there are two people that do. I feel like I'm standing here today accepting this Hall of Fame award on behalf of my grandmother, Christine Jarrett, and my father, Jerry Jarrett. So I really want to talk about them first, and I'm going to be short and sweet, I promise you, Gloria. Christine Jarrett, 1986 is where maybe this speech start. April 6th of 86 is when I had my first match. But the reality is I need to go back 40 years from that, 1946, my grandmother. And I just want a descriptor of her. She was one of 5 kids in abstract poverty in West Nashville. In one house, her parents and 4 siblings. She had gotten married to a soldier who went off to the war. He came back to the States, but he never came home. So she was a single mom of 2 kids, raising my aunt and my dad. And so she went out to get a second job because she knew what she had to do. I get chill bumps telling this story, and I've told it many, many times. But she walked into the jewelry store, shoe store, downtown Nashville, and there was 2 signs out front that said help wanted and wrestling tickets for sale. And she walked in, and the guy came walking out and said, how can I help you? She said, I saw your sign. Which one? Both. How can I help you? I want a job and I want to see wrestling. And she literally got a second job selling wrestling tickets in 1946. And she worked her way up to what we would call nowadays a CFO. That alone, it really blows my mind. It's just amazing. I don't believe in coincidences, only convergences. I'm going into the Hall of Fame, and the Welch family, who was instrumental in my family success in this industry, is here tonight. So I got goosebumps thinking about that. But Teenie worked her ass off, single mom, went on to, like I said, a CFO and promoted shows. And then my dad, 2 kids. His sister not got in the business, but he was a young kid, got a hardship license, driving. He went to work, started hanging window cards. And so he was a promoter ever before he was a wrestler. And he would hang around box offices and all that kind of stuff. And then he married my mom, went off to college, came back, had 2 kids. I got an older brother, Jerry Jr., and he was working in the corporate world, and his boss got fired on a downsizing, and he came home and looked at my mom and said, I'll never let that happen to me. So he got into the business. Roy Welch was his mentor, and he was booking before he wrestled. Then he got into wrestling, teamed up with Tojo Yamamoto, and I could go on and on and on, but my dad, his nickname was Little Man, but very innovative. He created the scaffold match. Kind of an idiot thing to do, if you ask me. No, I'm kidding. It's amazing when you really think about his innovations. But those are my 2 business mentors, my parents. I'm going to say this, that this business has given me everything. I can't say that Christine Jarrett was the best grandmother, and I can't say that my dad was the best dad. And I certainly have not been the best dad or the best husband, because all 3 of us are really linked together from the love of this industry, the passion for this industry. It shapes us. It is taken from us. We've given back. But it truly is an industry. Somebody said it earlier. It is Hotel California. You check into it, you're never getting out of it. Jimmy, I have no idea you are an alien because you got out. God bless you for that. But the Jarrett family, it really has shaped us, and it has given us so much. And when I think back, and I'll get going here, there's so many things. My childhood heroes, fabulous Jackie Fargo. He taught me as a young kid the entertainment aspect of it. Son, get them laughing, and if you can make them cry, you got them the rest of the night. Jerry Lawler, yes, I tried to copy his punch, but you can't duplicate that. But the little things that I got to sit under a mentor, walk through the dressing room door. Jeff, quit working toward the front row, work toward the last row in the arena every night. The little things that I was taught, unbelievable. I don't know how many times I heard out of folks' mouth, wrestler after wrestler. Hey, I'm not going to tell you how to sell. Go ask your dad. My dad knew how to sell, the babyface sell, the heel sell. Just those are the three huge mentors. Tony Falk gave me my first match. He's still a buddy of mine today. He texted, he saw the dark side of the ring. He said, I cried. I texted him back, good. We've got that kind of relationship. But Akio Sato, he came to the territory in Tennessee. By the grace of God, my dad said, I'm going to put you with him and Tojo. And anyway, I had 4 or 5 partners during the run, but for 18 weeks, legitimately, in those days, 86, it was 6 days a week and sometimes 7. So that was my crammed college course, but I got to work with him 18 straight weeks. So you do the math. He taught me my basics, and to this day, if I do a seminar, I teach exactly what he taught me. And then I was thinking on the ride up here, the plane ride up here, and yes, I'm 3rd generation promoter and 3rd generation wrestler, and I can still set up a wrestling ring and market, and I'm involved in production and social media and all that. But it always kind of, I link back to, let me think of the promoters that I've really worked for. Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett, Christine Jarrett, VERNE Gagne. I think about Carlos Colon going down to Puerto Rico, Tenryu in Japan, Eric Bischoff at WCW. Y'all go ahead and boo. Vince McMahon, the relationship I had with Vince McMahon. John was laughing about that. That story has kind of unraveled, but at the end of the day, I had a connection to him. And when I went back in the Hall of Fame in 2018, went into his office and he's hiring me. And yes, a lot of people thought hell froze over, but we were in there just for a moment, and the his chief of staff went in the room. And I think, anyway, it was just me and Vince. And he gave me a kind of a reassurance, but he nodded over and he said, yeah, we really are. We're just sons of wrestling promoters. That hit home with me in a lot of ways. And here I am today, still standing here. Been through a lot. In a lot of ways, I shouldn't be here. Disease of addiction is undefeated by itself. You'll never beat it one-on-one. But that lady right there, my wife Karen, in support of a lot of other folks, I fought through there, hadn't had a drink since October the 17th, 2017. And that disease is brutal, and it's affected a lot of folks in our industry. And it's one of the things that I try to share every chance I get with folks. But I just kind of think through all of this, and here I am today. I still have a locker room. I still got my wrestling bag. I still get to go to work. And yes, I still have a boss that's a promoter, Tony Khan. And guess what, folks? Tony Khan, he may catch a lot of flack. He didn't ask to be the son of a billionaire. He was born that way. I didn't ask to be the son of, look, I'm one of 5. None of my siblings are in the business. Tony loves the business. I love the business. Everybody in this room loves the business. By the grace of God, I still get to be in this industry. I'm the oldest member of the active AEW roster, and that alone freaks me out. But in closing, I'll just say this. And I wrote down just a few of these words because I just take it back to that. It's 3 generations. One family, one business. Tonight, all 3 of us are going into this Hall of Fame. I love y'all. Good night.
Jamie Dundee recently. It's great when you can just mention a name and somebody goes, this is going to be really bad. Told us a story when he was broke down on the side of the road in Tennessee, and Jeff Jarrett pulled up next to him in his Lincoln or Cadillac, whatever he had, and he goes, I just want to let you know that I'm not helping you. I don't like you. And he drove off. And for that alone, Jeff should be going in the Hall of Fame. Because that is the last outlaw right there. Hot Rod Roddy Piper used to tell me, if you guys ever really like to be a heel, and I've told Jeff this many times, we're a couple of the few that really enjoy it, even though I was never a heel because people like me a lot. Still do. I just something about me that makes people like me. Our next inductee and our final inductee is one of the most important families in the history of professional wrestling. We talk about pillars and we talk about giants that this industry is built on. And the Welch Fuller family is one of those giants and pillars that this business is built on today. You know, when Roy Welch first started building his territory, and by the way, this territory was from the boundary of the state of Texas all the way to the Gulf Coast, up to Kentucky, all the way to Florida. It would have been the whole country if he had had the interstate highway, if he had had private planes. I mean, this was amazing. The time that he was, the size of his territory. And one thing that he did was he brought Southern wrestling to the South. You know, people talk about the ha-ha days of Memphis. That came from Roy Welch, but when you talk about ha-ha days, you look at it, when you're selling out Memphis every single week for a year straight, same building, same place, I don't care if you call it ha-ha or what, that is absolutely amazing. And what Roy Welch did was realize that the South wanted something different. They wanted fast wrestling. They wanted heat. They wanted heels. They wanted storylines. They wanted drama. They didn't want just big guys. And Roy Welch brought all of this. You know, you look at what Ron Fuller has done, and I have so much respect for Ron Fuller. And the great matches of Bullet Bob Armstrong, of Mario Galante, of when they were in those territories. And you look at how they drew money. It was unparalleled what they did. And you look at what Ron did in Knoxville, and territory died in 1980 for a lot of reasons. We won't go into it. If he wants to go into it, that's his business. But then he comes back in 85 and 86 and sells it out again. Ron brought hockey to the South. He brought a minor league hockey team. They told him it will never work. Don't you tell a wrestling promoter something will never work. Ron outsold 3 different NHL teams with minor league hockey in the South when no one played hockey and no one understood the game, but Ron knew that it was all about entertainment. And when Ron brought that, that's when you realize this is one of the greatest promoters ever. This family, we did a segment on our podcast, a series. We did 12 shows, I believe it was, over 20 hours on the Welch Fuller family. It is simply one of the most important families in the world. And one of the reasons is that Roy Welch didn't get more press was because he always put other people ahead of him. He always put the promoter out there. And there were laws in states where you couldn't be a promoter, couldn't be a wrestler the same. So Roy always had front men. So he didn't get the credit that he probably should have gotten, because this family is one of the most important families in wrestling. And I am so happy that Ron Fuller is going to the Hall of Fame. I've had so much fun with his brother when he was there. I don't know Ron very well. I've gotten to talk to him a lot on podcasts. I've gotten to meet him here. But I'm so honored to be able to be here and be the one that inducts Ron Fuller in the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ron Fuller.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's an honor to be here. My granddad started wrestling 2024. Been 100 years, more than 100 years we've been in the business. My family, I'm a 5th generation. And Roy came up the hard way. He was trained by a guy named Dutch Mantell. not the one you're thinking about, the old Dutch Mantel, the original Dutch Mantel. And this guy was really, really a nasty dude, and he didn't want to train Roy. Roy wanted to be a wrestler. And that came from his dad. His dad trained him a little bit of wrestling, and he brought his sons. He had 3 brothers, and they all got involved, and they got a love for the sport. And Roy was just determined to get in the business, and so he went to a Dutch Mantel, who was a great shooter, and that's why he wanted to go there. He wanted to learn how to wrestle, and Dutch broke his ribs in the first workout on purpose. Knew he was put him in a scissors and broke his ribs. Sent him out, and he had the Dutch accent. He was actually from the Netherlands, and he said, "I don't think I see you no more, boy," and he was wrong. Boy came back as soon as his ribs got well, and he broke his wrist. It sent him off again. So Roy paid the price, but he learned the trade. He went into Ohio and began Ohio, and when he left there, he took some of the wrestlers in Ohio with him, and he wanted to go south. He wanted to do something big for wrestling, and so he had great ideas. He had great stamina. He really he embodied what the wrestling was all about, and so. Come from a family that, and then we started, in 5 generations, you're going to have quite a few wrestlers in there, and especially when everybody in the family wants to be a wrestler. I had a pretty good career I played college basketball. I could have maybe been a pro, but I never thought about doing anything else in my life except being a wrestler. And that's what I really wanted to do all my life. I wanted to do what my grandfather had done. Roy went out. He had Gerald knows and John knows, that he had so many different people that he put into the business, and they put their heart in the business, and so he was really a tremendous man. Even had a dairy in the end. He had one of the biggest dairies in the South he built, and as John was saying, he had a territory that went basically all over the South, pretty much all over the South, and the families were spread out in all those areas. You had the Hatfields, which they changed their name to be Fields, but they were down there in the Mobile area. You had my dad, and it was Eddie Graham, partners with Eddie Graham. You had the Roy Lee Welch that you're going to be hearing from later. His father and him were up there in the Georgia area. I was in the Knoxville area. Roy's in all those areas. He had been to all of those places before we ever had a chance to go there. And he's a great character. He was very much, I think, admired by pretty much everybody. He had a penchant for wanting to play jokes on his wrestlers. He all constantly doing something, and so I'm going to tell one story here, real short, and it's a kind of, but I got to. He trained the very first bear to wrestle too. Yeah, and and actually that's a little story there is he's coming out of a town called West Virginia, and he lived in Tennessee, and he's on a 2-lane road. That's all it was. This is back in 1940s, and he comes over a hill, and there in the road is a bear laying dead, female bear, little cub hanging right on her, just staying right on top of her, and he pulls over. And he gets out, and so what's he going to do with this situation here, right? And so he looks and he thinks about it, and then the little cub runs off down the road just a little ways, and then along comes a car. and he sees that what the potential is. Now the little cub's going to get dead too because he's not going to leave the mama. So he picks up this bear and he puts the bear in his trunk of his car, and he drives him 500, 600 miles back to Tennessee, and then he trains the bear. Yeah, which is quite, nobody had ever trained a bear, at that point, and instead of, and bears, a lot of bears in the wrestling business after Ginger. He named the bear Ginger. A lot of bears were in the wrestling business after that, but they all had their teeth pulled and their claws taken out. And Roy, the bear, Roy was a pretty wicked guy. He was a pretty nasty guy. He was the only guy probably ever bear was afraid of. The bear was actually afraid of him. And that's how he learned to train the bear. But, it's really a different different way to train a darn bear. So he trained the bear. Nobody else had one and during that time frame. And then, we had so many different family members. I did a little speech here this afternoon, and I took a piece of paper with me. I got ready to go over and do my thing, and I got to thinking now, how many people do I really have in my family? I never sat down and talked and really put everybody's name there. And so I got down, I took myself a little sheet of paper, and I started writing down first generation and second generation and third, and ended up with 27 members wrestling. Came every part of that family, Roy's brothers and sisters, Herb, Lester, the first generation were all great wrestlers. Herb was a real character. Herb was a great wrestler. But Roy wanted to not just wrestle, he wanted to run companies. He created matches, different types of dead matches. One of the first tag teams in the world were the Welches. First 6-man tags were all Welch teams. So, he did all of those things. And my father, I became a Fuller because when my dad got ready to go to wrestling, we already had so many Welches. He decided he wanted to make a business, make a name for himself as somebody different. And so he substituted for a guy named Buddy Fuller, and he decided, well, that's going to be my name. So my brother and I, we end up with that name. The Hatfields changed their name to the Fields Brothers. And with Jimmy Golden, the Golden family, that was my dad's sister's husband. And that's where Jimmy Golden and his group came in. And so it just had a tremendous number of people that got involved in the business. And I got to tell you one story he was years ago when my brother and I were in high school. Roy loved the bear loved Roy, and so he was he was that kind of guy where he really cared for his bear, but then he liked to pull these little stunts on his wrestlers. So he told my brother and I we'd visit him, and he said, do you guys ever have a rattlesnake down on your farm? We lived on a farm in Mississippi. So we said, well, we've got a lot of water moccasins and all kinds of poisonous snakes, but we don't have any rattlesnakes. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, if you can find me a rattlesnake and bring it to me, I'll pay you boys $20. And it was $20 to find a rattlesnake. So we go back home, and my dad's got a dozer on the farm, and he pushes the stump over, and there's a rattlesnake. My dad gets off of it, and he catches the snake, and we put it in a 5-gallon bucket, A week later, we go back to Tennessee, where Roy lived. And when we got there, we said, we got a present for you. And he said, what's that? And I said, he's in the trunk of the car. So we went to get the trunk of the car, opened it up, and we had that rattlesnake in a 5-gallon bucket. And he grabbed that bucket, and we said, we got your rattler in there. He took that bucket and he opened the top lid of it, and he dumped that snake out right at our feet. Me and Rob was running backwards like, wow, we're going to get bit here or something. And he just reached down real quick, fast as I've ever seen a human live. He just reached down and grabbed the snake before he could even start to curl up. And he says to us, he says, you know, I got some wrestlers riding with me today. And he said, I got a little, and we said, well, what, is that what you wanted the snake for? What are you going to do? And he says, follow me. And he took us out to his milk barn. He had a dairy. He took us out to the milk barn, and he had a needle and thread in a drawer in the desk there. He pulled it out. He had the snake by the back of his head, and he sewed his mouth shut. A rattlesnake. And just sewed his mouth shut where he couldn't bite anybody. And then he took it and put it in the back seat of his Cadillac. And he has 3 guys going with him with the matches. And so when he picked him up, me and Rob wanted to know what happened, you know. So when he picked him up, they started riding down the road. And he always drove fast, so they didn't get too concerned. And it wasn't unusual. He got his Cadillac up to about 120 miles an hour, 2-lane road. And then the rattlesnake, he thought would start right away to start to rattle, but he didn't do it. So he reached down there, told him some kind of story, slapped the seat over top of that rattlesnake, and then the rattler took off. So next day we asked him, said, what happened? What happened when the rattlesnake took off? And he said, we were going 90 and they had the back doors open. They were ready to go. So, we've been around the business a long time. I've had some pretty good success with it, and as John was nice enough to say, after the wrestling business, I kind of got into a totally different business. I had an opportunity to get involved in hockey, and I knew nothing about hockey, and I've made a good deal out of hockey. I've made a success out of that. I've made a success out of wrestling. It all came from Roy. Everyone in my family would all say that Roy is the guy that's really, really responsible for it. And I gotta really compliment you guys, Gerald and you too, John, and Tony Richards, Tony as well. Really, really enjoyed being a part of that, and my family, I think, really deserves it. And the oldest probably family in wrestling, and I know it's the largest. So I really appreciate the honor of being a part of it, and certainly getting into the Hall of Fame, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Please don't forget the softball game tomorrow. We got something closing here. We got something very special for you guys. We'll have Miss Thesz come up and Mr. BRISCO come up here in just a minute. But I want to thank everybody involved in the Hall of Fame. I want to thank the legendary coach Jim Miller. I want to thank Gloria, Gabby, and Mr. BRISCO, who's absolutely deaf, so he won't hear a word I say. That man is a national treasure. I love that man. He is as good as there is on the salt of the earth. And it is a pleasure to know Mr. BRISCO and a pleasure to be here. It is an honor to be here in front of you guys. Thank you very much for letting me be here. And now if we can, Mr. BRISCO and Miss Charlie Thesz.
Oh, wait, I need one of these. Okay, I'm gonna be quick, but if I get too windy, you can leave. That's the nice thing about being on last. It's just been an honor, and honestly, it's bittersweet, but to have you here, remembering Lou means the world to me. And I know somewhere he wishes he was here with us too. So thank you all so much for giving me another world. And that's what y'all are. You're a whole world, the whole wrestling world. And I love you all. Thank you. And I love this one the best.
That's Charlie Thesz, you're over with? Wow. That's got to be a record. First of all, you know, let's all give yourself applause and look around here. It's just wonderful, wonderful. Coach Miller, you know, recognized the people who's been coming steady here for years and years and years, and it's just phenomenal that we keep getting bigger each year. And an organization is only as good as its people. And you are all you're not fans, you're family. When we come here, it's so different from every other organization. We're right here. We're family. Everybody's accessible. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's ready to talk. Everybody's ready to share their stories in life, and it's just so wonderful to hear your stories. But an organization is only as good as its people. With people like Gloria and Dennis and James Beard. John Layfield has joined us. Deborah Medusa has joined us. And we want to thank the people who's been there a long time, Chad Austin and his family, Troy Peterson and Caroline, and most of all, Coach here, Coach Jim Miller, Mike Doty, and of course, Gabby back there. They're just fantastic to work with. So, you know, we appreciate everybody, but we got another fantastic day tomorrow. We got the soft game. We start off with the softball game tomorrow. And tomorrow night, the 25th anniversary of Impact Wrestling Show will be right here downstairs at this beautiful facility here. So don't forget the softball game in the morning and pick your team tomorrow, because who knows what's going to happen. I mean, Medusa has said she's going to get even with Layfield. I don't know what for what. Layfield says she better watch out because that clothesline from hell is coming. So I'd like to thank everybody tonight. Thank you very much. Thank all of our honorees. We appreciate you. Bring a friend 2027. Thank you. All the honorees, please come over here for a group picture, please. All the honorees over here by the screen.